Hello everyone, welcome on a new episode of Robert Spotlight.
Robert Spotlight.
Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight.
Doing all this moderation stuff for Discord.
I'm a social media futurist.
Been a moderator at Be Friends.
Now it's my project because I love sports.
I'm speaking at NFT NYC.
Welcome on the show. Welcome everyone, welcome on a new episode of Robert Spotlight and Robert Spotlight. Danielle, welcome on the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you to be here. So basically, I bring you here because one old guest refer you know, as I wanted to have you on the show. So I'm going to show you the question, and just after we are going to do like what is your background, what are you doing, you know, on the space. But I just want you to show that.
There's a person which is a collector in the Tezos community, and I admire her because she's so energetic and so positive to everybody around there. Her name is Danielle King, if I'm correct, and she's like clapping for all those artists coming up with their artworks and investing a lot of energy for artists and the works, and that's a person I don't really understand. I admire her, and that's not a negative thing, but I would ask her, why are you doing this, and what is the motivation behind it?
Okay.
It's, this collector aspect of it.
So that is a question of Stefan, and I hope that you can reply to him.
Sure, yeah. That's so funny. Why do I collect? Man, that is a big question. I come from the traditional art world. I worked at the Museum of Modern Art in New York for 8 years. I've worked in galleries in New York City. And I just love art. I studied art history and studio art as an undergraduate. I've always been passionate about it. And I do collect, physical art as well. That said, you only have so many walls in your house. And when I discovered this whole Web3 world, the idea of being able to sort of collect an unlimited amount of things, you don't need space for them. I can collect from artists all around the world, which in the real world is very hard to do, to have the budget to be able to travel around and see the art. Here, it's just all on my computer. It's just amazing. And I think, I got into it because of my job, which I'll talk about in a minute. But then I just got completely addicted. And, the community, and I collect in the Tezos blockchain, the Tezos art community is just amazing. I've made so many friends there. So now it's, in addition to being sort of a hobby and a fun thing to do, it's also sort of my social world, particularly during the pandemic. It became a way to connect with people. So yeah, that's kind of a long-winded answer to Stefan's question. I collect his work. That's probably how he knows me, and we follow each other on Twitter. I post a lot about the art that I collect. I love to share it, and a lot of times other people will collect, and that makes me so happy when someone finds art that they love because I shared it. So yeah, that's my answer to Stefan. and thank you for recommending me, Stefan. That's very sweet.
Perfect. So thank you for replying to him. Could you talk a little bit about how you enter the Web3 space and basically what you were doing before?
Sure. Yeah. So I mentioned I have an art background and I worked in the traditional art world. I also have a finance background. I have an MBA and I worked on Wall Street for a while, at Lehman Brothers, which is a whole separate story. And then when the pandemic hit, I was living in New York City. I was helping manage a gallery in Chelsea. I was their, CFO. And my husband and I, we have kids, and it was too much. We were in this tiny apartment in Brooklyn, and both working from home with 2 kids not in school. We couldn't leave the house. So we decided to leave. So we moved to Western Massachusetts. I quit my job, and I was homeschooling the kids for a bit, which was an adventure. Definitely not really cut out to be a teacher. That's what I learned through that. And then once the kids started going back to school and I had some capacity to work again, my brother, who has worked in the tech world for a long time, he was at Google for many years, was starting a company with Jason Bailey, who most people know as Art Gnome, around tools for collectors, NFT collectors. And they needed someone to sort of handle the financial and operational aspects of the company. So they had the fun job of sort of describing and explaining to me the blockchain, NFTs, this whole world, which I really had no exposure to. I mean, my concept of NFTs was like Bored Apes. Like, that's all I knew. I didn't really know anything about generative art or, any of these things. So I was lucky to have such a great guide into this world. Art Gnome, once I came on board with the company, he said, you really need to collect in order to understand these products that we're building, these tools that we're building. So he very kindly and patiently set up a wallet for me, sent me some Tezos, and we sat together on a video call, much like this. And he sort of walked me through, at that time, Hicketnunk, which was still around, showed me his wallet, showed me some artists he collects, and then showed me sort of the trick of, okay, if you like a certain artist or a piece by a certain artist, see what they collect, because artists are great collectors. And then you just go down this sort of like rabbit hole of following, these different things. So that was sort of what got me in. And sometime down the road from that, I discovered FX Hash, which I became completely addicted to, and found a lot of friends there, and joined that community, started collecting there. And yeah, so that just was sort of how my whole adventure in Web3 began. So yeah, I continue to be the CFO and COO of Club NFT, which also owns Right Click Save, the Web3 publication. And then in my spare time / free time, I'm still collecting a lot. And I actually started minting some of my own work on Tezos as well, some AI work that I've been making, which has been really fun to get back into creating again, which I hadn't done for a really, really long time. So that's a kind of long-winded answer about how I got to Web3.
Okay, perfect. And before you were creating some artwork?
Sorry, could you say that again? I just didn't hear.
You said that you start to recreate art.
Oh yeah. So when I was in college, before college, during college, and a little bit after, I made work, mostly photography, film, and some mixed media. I was really, really into photography. That was my sort of main thing, was fine art photography. But then, career, life, kids, I just stopped doing it. And somewhere along the way, I started collecting AI art, and my friend Clown Vamp encouraged me to try it myself. I had sort of, artistic background and artistic eye. He thought it would be fun for me. He recommended I try Midjourney. So I did. And again, I got super addicted to it. It's really fun. It's a way for me to, explore my creative side and also use my artistic background. My work so far has basically been sort of exploring alternate art histories. I do these mashups of different artists and creators, sort of imagining what would it be like if they collaborated. And then some of my other series are sort of offshoots of that. So yeah, it's been really fun. It's also a way to support my collecting habit. Every Tezos I make goes back into art that I buy. So it's a virtuous cycle, I guess.
Yes, I get it. So regarding Club NFT, what can you talk about someone that don't know anything about Club NFT? What is this tool?
Sure. So Club NFT, we're building solutions for NFT collectors. That's our sort of overall mission, to help collectors protect, discover, and learn. And our first couple of tools, everything is free, by the way. our first tool was a backup tool. So you can log into Club NFT. We have app.clubnft.com, and you can back up all of your Tezos and Ethereum NFTs. So I think what a lot of people don't know is that, there's a lot of things that aren't stored on the blockchain that are associated with your NFTs. For the most part, most things you collect aren't fully on chain. So all of these other assets, we help back them up. And should something happen and maybe the marketplace that you collected from goes down and they stop paying for pinning or whatever, you'll have everything you need to restore that NFT and make it viewable, saleable, etc. again. So again, it's totally free. It's something, especially with the market turmoil, I highly recommend everybody just go and quickly do it. It's very quick and easy. I'm not a super tech savvy person, which is funny because I work at a tech company, but even I can handle it. You basically just put your wallet in. You don't have to connect your wallet. So there's no like security worries. And yeah, you'll see a little dashboard that'll show you what's been backed up. And you can save that zip file sort of as a, emergency just in case. Hope you don't ever have to open it, but you'll have it should something happen and you need to restore one of your NFTs. So that's one product.
But it's a decentralized product, right?
Yes.
It's off-chain, and it's kind of we can see that as a Google Drive, Amazon S3.
Exactly. Yeah, you can save it wherever. You could save it to Google Drive. You could save it to a hard drive. It's yours, and so should Club NFT go away, you still have it. It's not you're not reliant on us at all, which we think is really important. So there's that, and then in that same sort of area of app.clubnft.com, you'll see another tool there, which is our discovery tool, which is super fun and exciting. And I warn you, it is very addictive. I myself have spent a lot of time and a lot of money on it. Basically, we're all collectors at our company for the most part. And one thing that we realize is that it can be hard to find new art that you like. Some of these marketplaces, there's just so much stuff out there, right? It's hard to hone in on new things. And B, there are a lot of sort of star artists or, artists that can command a high price and that have established themselves. But beyond that, some of these up and coming artists or artists that are, haven't sort of like broken through yet, it can be really hard to find them in all of everything that's out there. So the discovery tool, again, you don't have to connect your wallet. You just put your wallet address in. It will sort of use an algorithm to see everything that you collect, and it finds similar wallets and collectors, so people with kind of similar taste to you, and will surface new NFTs and new artists that those other people collect, but you haven't yet found. So, it's sort of this way of finding hidden gems. It's a way of discovering new artists. I think it's a great way, especially in this economy. You can put in a price range. So you can even, collect on a very shoestring budget and say, listen, I only have, 5 tests to spend or whatever. And it'll show you a bunch of things that might appeal to you. And I found people really, I don't know, the algorithm works. I don't know the tech behind it. We have a great data scientist, Nick, who came up with the algorithm. But it really serves up new and interesting things. And, I think a lot of the artists have been really appreciative as well. I always post when I collect things, and I've had a lot of them say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you found my work. And without the tool, I don't think I would have found it. It takes a lot of time to like go through other collectors' wallets and see what you might like. So this is like kind of doing that for you and serving it up in this like really pretty interface. So so that's our second tool. We're building more. And then we have Right Click Save, which is our online magazine, which has published a wealth of amazing articles and interviews all about Web3 and art on the blockchain. Alex, our editor-in-chief, has just done an astonishing job. I feel like anyone who's in this world will find something interesting and something that will appeal to them on that site. I read every article, but I highly recommend people check it out. Whether you've been in this space for a long time or you're new, I think there's something sort of for everybody there, and it's really high quality content and writing, which I think, we started Right Click Save because we felt like there wasn't too much of that, in the space. So yeah, that's kind of what we do.
Okay. So regarding the discovery feature, it's working on which blockchain?
It's just on Tezos for now. We
Okay.
have had a lot of people ask about ETH, so that's something we're looking into. It's more complicated on that side a bit, but we hope to be able to release a product on that side. But for now, it's on Tezos, whereas the backup tool is Tezos and Ethereum.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And regarding the discovery feature, did you had a lot of feedback of people saying not on the artist side? I'm going to ask first on the collector side. What are the main feedback of collector using the discovery tool?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think the main feedback has been, thank you, but this is dangerous. We actually, before we launched it to the public, we had a sort of beta group of testers, and they just kept saying to us, oh my gosh, I just keep spending like too much money using this tool. But they also gave a lot of really helpful feedback in terms of UI, things that would make it easier to use, make it more intuitive. So before we released it to the broader world, I think we got a lot of great feedback to make it as easy to use as can be. So yeah, but if people use it and they have feedback for us or features that they think would be cool, I encourage them to reach out. You can reach out directly to me. My DMs are open. I can pass it along to our team. But yeah, I think the main feedback has been that it really is good at surfacing things that people want to collect, and that it can be a wallet drainer. So
okay. And what is the main feedback from the artist standpoint? Yeah,
I mean, the artists that I have heard from have been so thrilled. I think for them, anytime a collector shares the work, it's a really nice thing. I know as with my art, I love when I see people share it. And there is a great feature within the tool, within the Pathfinder discovery tool, where if you see something you like, whether you're going to buy it or not, it may be something that's out of your price range or whatever. But if you see something you like, there's a little tweet button. So you can click that and it'll put the image, it'll put a link to the work, and it'll say like, I found this on Pathfinder, and you can share it out. And so I think that artists have really loved that too, because it's something that's super easy, takes like a second for a collector to share, but it gets their work out there, it gets it in the Twitter feed. And someone else might see that, click on it, and collect the work. So yeah, I think artists have been pretty thrilled about it.
Okay, perfect. Regarding Club NFT, so right now you have kind of two main problem solving. The first, it's the backup. To me, I view that as being a workaround for the IPFS. Did I get it right?
Yeah, it's sort of to work in conjunction with IPFS, and pinning is also something that we are looking into and working on separately. But the backup is sort of even if your works are being hosted on IPFS, which is great, somebody has to pay for that, whether it's the marketplace or the artist or whoever, and if they stop, then that content disappears, and basically, the link is no longer valid. So we're giving you all of those assets, the JPEGs or the, whatever is affiliated with the NFT, so that you could repin it should you need to, if, one of these marketplaces goes away or something like that happens. So it's kind of like a partner to IPFS, really.
Okay, perfect. And the second one is the discovery. So I will assume that these two things were two main issues that collectors have. What is the third one that is going to come to life, and what is the one that you are your focus right now? Meaning, what is the current main pain point for collector?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are a lot of things. I think, I alluded to, we are going to be offering pinning soon. I think you just basically security and protection around NFTs is not a well understood area, but is a pain point. People have already in the past lost NFTs because marketplaces went down, and we assume that this will happen again in the future, particularly during, economic downturns. So having the backup, which you can save anywhere, and also pinning is sort of like a, double protection. People are spending a lot of money and investing a lot of, emotion, right? You care about these JPEGs and these things that you're collecting. I do. So if they were to disappear, it would be bad financially, but it also, I'd be pretty upset about it. So I think those are two related products to one pain point, which is, I think security, safety, protection, which is not super well understood, I think, in the space. And we're trying to get the message out around that. And yeah, discovery, I think, has always been a pain point. And that's why we came up with Pathfinder. What is the third? I think one thing that I find hard to do right now is to share my work, works that I collect with other people. I don't really have the patience or the time to put a whole huge curated gallery together. I know a lot of people invest a lot of time in Deca or these different beautiful galleries. And then, if you look at your, object page or your FX hash page, you see your whole collection and it's not in any particular order. Then there may be things in there that like you don't necessarily want to show everybody. So I think, solutions where you kind of have your own page as a collector and you can easily order things or edit things and share things with people is something that we're looking at, and something where you don't have to do a whole lot of legwork. You don't have to, load everything in. It will automatically sort of like show what's in your wallet, and then you can kind of play with it from there. I think that's something that there aren't as many solutions. And I'm part of Tender Art, which is related to FX hash, and Tender has Grail grids and things like that, where you can show your FX hash works, which is great. And I've made some of those because they're really quick and easy. And you can do them on different themes and things like that. But, it's just limited to things that are on FX hash and that are in your Tender profile. So having something that is maybe, more open is something that I think would be huge for me as a collector. Right now, I mainly just share things on Twitter, and that's so ephemeral. It'd be nice to have sort of like a more static place where I can share sort of my curated vision with people.
Okay. Can we imagine kind of a high thing that will help a collector to do that? Kind of the same way that you have the Pathfinder saying to someone, "Oh, you collect that. Maybe you have to watch this thing."
Right.
Can we imagine something like, "Oh, you have that on your wallet. Maybe you can order that this way." Can we imagine something like this?
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah. I mean, we're still talking and developing. We're in very early stages for any sort of next product. We just released Pathfinder recently. So, it's the world of possibilities is very open. And again, if people have ideas and feedback, I'd love to hear it. We're our whole point of our company is to make things that collectors need and want. And so feedback is super, super important to us. We talk to a lot of folks before, we do things and as we develop our products. So, if people have thoughts about our current products or things that they think are needed in the space, we'd love to hear it.
Okay, perfect. What is the business model? Or do you, because you as you just say, it's a company. So, your company
is a company. It is a company. Well, so, for now, we're just trying to, get the word out, particularly on the protection front, because we think it's so important that people, understand that, these assets, these things they're paying for and care about need to be protected. So for now, backup is totally free. We hope to continue it being free for as long as we can. Same with the discovery tool, it's free. We are a company, we'll need to charge at some point for something, but we are hoping, that there are partnerships and things like that where we can, eventually produce revenue. We're not saying we'll never charge the end consumer for anything, but, for now, we just want to try to, get the word out, get people backing their stuff up. And, if you back up your collection today, and you save it to wherever, the cloud or, a hard drive or something, like that's yours. So if we start charging, for backup in a year or whatever, you still have that. We can't take it away from you. But yeah, I mean, I think for now, right now, we're just focused on getting the word out and building up our users as much as we can. We're lucky that we have funding. Our investors understand how important our mission is. And so they haven't really demanded that we produce revenue yet, because we're very young. But yeah, we definitely have, plans and ideas as to how this could all shake out. But for now, everything is free, so take advantage.
Okay, perfect. But I mean, at this point, you don't have any kind of roadmap about, okay, here is how we are going to make money, to make profit, etc. Yeah.
I mean, we do have a roadmap. It's very long term. I mean, I think at some point, if we can't make money from partnerships and affiliates, enough to stay afloat, like there will be some sort of paid subscription model. We'll probably have it where, a certain level is free. And then if you want, say, for example, more frequent backups, because people who are avid collectors, they're adding to that, to that collection all the time. So, we may have a model, a tiered model where, like, if you want your collection backup refreshed every month or however often, you pay for that. So, we do have different scenarios that we've planned out for, but first we want to kind of try to see how much traction we get in terms of users, and go from there.
Okay, perfect. And okay, makes sense. So regarding right-click save, so it's kind of your media firm or branch. Who is the editor of this branch?
Sure. So
my question is yes.
Yeah, Alex Esterick is our editor-in-chief. He's fantastic, and yeah, right-click save is part of our company, but has total editorial independence. So he does what he wants, and he, is the person who decides, reaches out to different writers. Often writers or people with ideas reach out to him. But yeah, that's who runs the show over there.
Okay, and what is the mission of right-click save?
Yeah, and right-click save's mission is really tied up with our Club NFT's mission, in the sense that it's all about sort of informing, educating, protecting collectors. So, right-click save being a publication is more on the educating side, and a lot of the articles, there are articles where, we're interviewing artists or interviewing collectors, things like that. But then there are also, more technical articles. There are articles about that are sort of more historical, about sort of, the history of this whole Web3 world that we're in. So yeah, it's just education, basically. And community building, in a way, I think is a sort of offshoot of that. I think right-click save has built up a great community of writers and contributors and people who, even away from the publication, on Twitter and in live events and different, panels and things, are discussing these issues and having a discourse, which I feel that right-click save has really helped contribute towards. So yeah, education and community, I think.
Okay, perfect. And so far it's only online. Did there is any initiative in real life?
Not as of now. I mean, it's a publication that's all about Web3. Okay. So I don't know that we would, need to do any sort of in real life publication. Never say never, but. Okay, perfect. Makes sense. So I'm going to move a little bit on your collector side. So we talked that did there was anything that you want to add, or maybe I didn't ask you the question regarding. No, that was great. It's great. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to move a little bit on your collector side. Okay. So you collect a lot. Stefan say so. It's kind of your day-to-day. You like it. It's a part of your social norm. Could you talk a little bit about your process? Do you have any process when you collect? Yeah, I think I don't have a really defined sort of methodology. I tend to collect what speaks to me. I think I have a certain kind of taste or a certain sort of bent to what I collect. That said, I'm not super hyper focused on any one sort of thing. Like I know some folks, for example, only collect generative art or are really focused on AI art or, whatever. I collect all of those things. I collect generative art, AI art, digital paintings, photography, all kinds of things. So yeah, I think, I really just buy what I love. Art Gnome has this thing that people quote a lot. It's like, buy art you love at a price you can afford, with no expectation to make money off of it, and you'll be happy. And so that's kind of what I try to live by. That said, I do sell things. I often, need to sell things to buy other things. So, I don't have a sort of no sell rule. But I find that the longer that I collect, the harder it is for me to sell, and the more, conviction I have in holding things. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a really, set process. I wake up, I check my email, I look on Twitter, I check out what's new on FX Hash. I, look and see what other people have been, friends and collectors that I admire have been collecting. I often use Pathfinder, see if there's anything new and exciting surfaced there. But yeah, and then I just kind of, see what speaks to me and what I can afford.
Okay, perfect. And when you watch what other collectors that you admire collect, how do you do that?
Part of it, Pathfinder does surface things because it knows other similar wallets. But when I'm just sort of doing it myself, a lot of it honestly is really Twitter based. I have my Twitter feed, and a lot of the collectors that I admire are in that Twitter feed, and they'll post things. They'll say, "Oh, I just collected this work," or whatever, and I'll click through and see. So yeah, I mean that's kind of a way that I do it. Then I am in different Discords. I'm in the Tender Discord, the FX Hash Discord. So people will, talk about things in there, and I'll go check those things out. So yeah, it kind of happens conversationally, but all online.
Okay, so it's a very organic approach.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay, and let's say you click on a link, whatever you start from, Discord, Twitter, you land on whatever marketplace, sorry, and it's not a one-on-one, it's like a collection.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do to go through all that and make the decision?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it varies, for something, say if it's FX Hash, there's all these different iterations, right? So I'll generally see what's up for sale. I mean, if it's not something that's currently minting, I'll see what's for sale, what's available, sort it by price, and see what I can afford and what I like the best, Sometimes, it'll be a piece near the floor. Sometimes I'll reach up from the floor because there's something that just really catches my eye, or I really like a certain iteration. When it's not something like that, like a generative art thing, say it's something on Object, like an AI artist, and they have a bunch of different pieces. Yeah, with that, I just kind of go with what speaks to me. I do keep an eye on edition size and things like that, but it also sometimes doesn't matter to me. If there's something really beautiful, something I really love, and it's an edition of 1,000 or 100 or something, I'll still collect it. That said, I'm willing to spend up more if it's a one of one or something like that. So, it's kind of a combination. It's always, does it speak to me and do I love it? And then, price is obviously a consideration. So it's kind of like the combination of those things. And then, I do think about, if I already collect the artist, I do think about sort of how will this fit in with the other things that I own by that artist, trying to build like a nice like collection of work across the breadth of what they're doing. So I have that as like another consideration too.
Okay, perfect. Did you already collect something and it's kind of afterwards you said to yourself, oh, I shouldn't do that? Do you recall something like this?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Like I think when I first started out collecting, especially on FX Hash, I was just sort of like minting things I could afford, which wasn't a lot because I didn't have a lot of Tez. And the fun of minting, you know, just like that surprise of what you're going to get with generative art. Certainly there were outputs or things that later that I wasn't maybe as crazy about. But it was all part of the process too, right? Of like becoming more familiar with my own taste and what, you know, what I like. So, you know, and the sort of great thing about this art world as compares to the traditional art world is it's a lot more liquid. You know, if you change your mind about something, you probably can sell it if you need to. It may be at a loss or, you know, at least maybe not at a gain. But if you feel like, you know what, I actually got an iteration that I don't love from this generative piece, or, you know, you collected something and then you sort of, you know, change your mind about it and wanted to get a different thing by that artist, you can always try to sell or trade. So, you know, I don't have any big regrets on that front generally. The thing I more regret is when I don't mint something or I don't buy something, you know, that's huge, permanent, infinite regret, right? Is that
it was my next question. I will do the opposite. So what was the case?
Oh, I mean, so many things. I regret getting on FX Hash too late and missing a lot of the early projects. I regret, you know, minting things and then selling them, period, or selling them too soon. I regret not minting things because I was sleeping or I was out or I just, you know, didn't know what was going on. So, you know, there are tons of regrets like that. But I always try to tell myself, you know, for all the regrets, there will always be more things in the future, you know, so you miss some, but then down the road, you know, you get some. So, and with the things that I miss, that I really love, I try to collect on the secondary if I can. You know, sometimes it winds up being out of your price range and you can't, you know, but, you know, I keep my eye on the secondary for the pieces that I missed that I'm really regretful of and try to catch them if I can.
Okay, perfect. Did there is any kind of emerging artists that caught your eyes recently?
Oh, so many. Like, did you say an emerging artist or any emerging? Yeah. Oh, gosh, there's so many. And, you know, in the AI space, I feel like there's been just this amazing, you know, creative explosion happening. And there are so many artists over there that I'm just discovering like every day. I have to give props to Clown Vamp. If anybody is interested in AI art and, you know, hasn't really started collecting, or even if you have, I would definitely follow him. He does these Sunday AI. His name's Clown Vamp. If you just search Clown Vamp on Twitter, you'll find him. He's definitely worth a follow if you're into AI art. He produces AI art himself, but he began, like me, as a collector, and he still collects very avidly. And on Sundays, typically he posts like a Sunday AI thread of different AI artists who he's been collecting. So that's a great way to see sort of up and coming artists, and he has a great eye. You can also look at his collection. Honestly, he has a really amazing AI art collection, and just generally like a generative art collection as well. He's been doing it for a long time. So I tend to, you know, look to his advice a lot in terms of new artists in the AI space. So yeah, I'm not going to call out anyone specifically, but I would just say that I've been collecting a lot of emerging AI art.
Makes sense. And what is you know, for generative art, you can name art blogs, FX Hash. For AI artists, can you call any marketplace?
Yeah, no, I mean, I really just have been collecting mostly off of objects. You know, as far as I know, there isn't like a sort of AI art marketplace on Tezos. Maybe there is, and if there is, someone please tell me. But mostly just object, I think, is where a lot of folks, at least for Tezos, are minting work. That's where I mint my work. That's where Clown Vamp mints his. So it is a lot, because it isn't sort of like a narrow, specific thing. You do have to kind of search around, and that's why following other people who collect AI art is helpful, because those people will find something and post about it, and then it'll catch your eye, and you go and collect it or learn about the artist.
Okay, perfect. Did there is anything that you would like to see more on the market?
That's a good question. Well, one thing just generally I would love to, see more of in this space is women artists, women collectors. I think there are a lot of women artists. I don't know that they get the attention that they deserve. So I do try to, as much as I can in my little way, promote and bring light to women artists that I collect. And in terms of female collectors, I'm friends with a few. I don't think there are a ton. Again, in this space, it's hard to tell because some people are anonymous. But in terms of people who are sort of publicly female identifying collectors, I don't think there are as many. And I think, there are a lot of reasons for that, probably. But, there are a lot of hurdles in terms of getting into this world. I think onboarding is difficult. And, I'm always here if there are folks who, want to learn more or need help onboarding. I was really lucky to have Art Gnome onboard me, and I'd love to, return the favor to folks if I can and see more women in the space. So yeah, I think generally that's something that I talk with people about and try to brainstorm ways that we can get more women here. I mean, it's funny, in the traditional art world, there are a ton of women, in museums and galleries, but that world is only slowly sort of starting to see the potential over here in terms of, the art being, really incredible and valid. So, bringing some of those women over here and into collecting, I think would be really amazing.
And what would be the main issue?
I don't know.
You talk about onboarding, but do you think that it's really the main issue?
Onboarding is one. I think just like connecting what's happening here with sort of the art historical canon for folks who come from that more traditional art world is the important thing. I think just like I sort of only knew about the Bored Apes or the sort of PFP projects, I think a lot of folks in the traditional art space don't understand what's happening here and, sort of don't maybe have the highest opinion of it, but they may not understand, everything that's happening in generative art, for example, and how, there are all these ties to, traditional artists that they would recognize and that they see hanging in museums. So I think more education on that front, I think that's something that Right Click Save actually does help with. And a lot of our articles, talk about those art historical predecessors and things like that. So, onboarding and I think just general education around, what all is happening here. It's not just PFPs, there are people doing really innovative, beautiful work here and, just maybe opening people's eyes to that. So it's a long process, right?
Okay. And, okay, perfect. Regarding still your collecting side, which kind of tool do you use?
In terms of
to collect.
Yeah. I mean, I use the Pathfinder tool, to be honest, a lot. And then otherwise, really, I'm just sort of, browsing marketplaces. FX Tender has sort of curated drops, and because so many things drop on FX Hash, it is helpful to sort of have an eye on what's coming up, and also it can link to your calendar. So I use that tool. It's very helpful so I don't miss drops. What other tools? I'm trying to think. I do, sort of take a look at the marketplace every so often to see what's happening, in terms of the secondary sales and things like that. It doesn't really guide my collecting, but I just find it interesting, and it is helpful to know when certain artists are having sort of runs or, things like that. But yeah, I would say tool-wise, really the Pathfinder tool, and then some of the tender tools, including the drops calendar, I find really, really helpful.
Perfect. So let's start about your. Let's talk a little bit about your art.
Sure.
So you explore the AI, and you use Midjourney, and basically, so if I recall correctly, what you are doing, it's like a matchup between hypothetical collab.
Yes.
Between artists.
Yep.
So can you talk about it?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I've always loved art and art history. It's, what I've studied, and then working in museums and galleries is, just like a day-to-day education in, contemporary and modern art. So I have all of these references and all of these artists that I love. And one of the things that I found really cool about Web3, and like FX Hash, for example, even has like a collaboration, mechanism, is that artists often collaborate together and, sort of fuse their styles or come up with something, totally different from what either of the two of them do. And so I just, in terms of exploring AI, I thought it would be really cool to look at, different artists from the past and like, what if they could collaborate, and they don't have to be on the same timelines, it could be someone who's alive today, a contemporary artist with someone from the Renaissance or whatever. So I just started exploring and experimenting with that, putting these different prompts into AI, refining them, reprompting, upscaling and playing. I would say like the majority of the different matchups that I try don't work out, or, I don't get to a result that I like. It actually is a lot of work. I think sometimes people look at AI and they think, oh, it's so easy. You just put in a prompt and like out comes this beautiful thing. But a lot of the majority of the outputs aren't beautiful. So I think AI art is a lot of curation. Looking, you put in the prompts, you get all these things out, and you have to be able to discern what is sort of interesting, what's aesthetic, what's worth minting and what's not. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it. It's been a way to sort of also funnily, I think sometimes it helps. I've helped introduce artists to people. I've had people comment on my works when I post them and say, oh, wow, I hadn't heard of this artist before. And now I'm like looking them up and that I love their work, so it can be like a little art history lesson for people as well. Help them maybe discover some traditional artists that they don't know much about or didn't know about. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. And then I have an offshoot series called AI Women, which is, things that have come out of these mashups that I haven't minted as a set sort of artist mashup, but a lot of what you get when you put in different artists and different styles into AI is you get women. Like women are a major subject in art history. So I started minting one-of-ones of some of the women that really came out of this process that caught my eye, that I thought were sort of really special. So that's another line that I have. And then I also have a third sort of smaller series that's sort of mashups of artistic movements. So like minimalism meets surrealism, things like that.
Okay. So regarding the AI woman, if I get it right, it's like during your process, you give input to Midjourney. Midjourney produce output, and on a lot of output, you figured out that there was a lot of women.
Yes.
It was that? Okay. And so based on this discovery, you decided to do one-on-one of maybe the most beautiful output, or what was the parameter to make the
Right.
selection?
Yeah. It sometimes it's the most beautiful, sometimes it's just the most unique or interesting. And it's interesting because sometimes they don't, in the end, like after all of the reprompting or the sort of going down the rabbit hole with the AI process, sometimes the results don't at all even resemble the artist that I kind of started with. I say, just for example, I was using Matisse and Georgia O'Keeffe or something, and trying to mash those two up. Sometimes the woman that results after working on this process for however long doesn't seem at all like either one of those people would have painted her, you know. She's just uniquely herself.
Okay.
And so I just found that interesting. And that's why I mint them as one of ones, just because of that uniqueness. Like it just, it seems to me that these women kind of like stand alone, and I don't define them by the artist that I began the process with, because they wind up just kind of being their own thing, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Make a lot of sense. So I love the explanation, because now it's so more often when I do my interview, I have the opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with someone, and during this conversation, it's obvious to me that what the artist or the other person try to do, you know. It's like I have a straight to the point, with the thing and with the idea behind it. So for me, it's a very it's obvious, you know. My question would be, did everything that you are doing, it's obvious to people?
Is it of use to people? I hope so. I hope it's bringing people joy, or, you know, making them think, or, you know, making them explore other creative things, whether, you know, in the collecting sense or the artistic sense. I think so. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about my art, which has been wonderful and surprising. I just sort of started doing it for myself because I needed a creative outlet, and I found it fun. And so the fact that people have responded to it has been like totally heartwarming and great. And then in terms of collecting, I think my collecting definitely has a positive impact. I'm not the biggest collector. I'm certainly not a whale. I don't have that kind of budget or anything, but I think I'm a pretty vocal collector. And I like to really, you know, sort of shout from the rooftops and support the artists that I collect. And I know that a lot of them have appreciated that, as they reach out to me and tell me that they do. And, you know, I coined this term, I think I coined it anyway, frenabling, which is when you enable a friend to collect art. And I think I have frenabled a lot of people to collect a lot of art from my posts and sharing about different artists. And nothing makes me happier, to be honest, than when I see somebody say, "Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Thanks for posting. I just collected from this artist," because, you know, I'm helping get the word out there about this person's work. So yeah, I hope I've made some impact.
Okay. So you are not outside for the like. You are here to share the love. Basically.
Yeah, share the love.
What was the coin term?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, the terms that you said.
Oh, frenable.
Frenable. Okay.
You know, people in this world call each other friends instead of friend. And then, like, to enable someone is like you're helping them. So I frenable people to collect art.
Okay, perfect. Makes sense. How do you enjoy your art? I mean, did you enjoy your art by logging on your Tezos wallet and watching them? How do you enjoy your art?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it by logging into my wallet and looking around. Sometimes I'll just go and look at like the older, you know, go way back in time, because you forget about some of the stuff you collected, you know. So I'll just kind of like go back and look and say, oh wow, I have this piece. This is cool. Sometimes I'll enjoy it by making a Grail grid in the Tender website, putting things together and making like nice combinations. Or I do that on Twitter. Sometimes I'll post, I had a thing I was doing for a while. I haven't done it in a bit, where I did pairings from my collection. So I'd find two works that I feel like kind of go nicely together in whatever way, either stylistically or a similar theme, or even color-wise, and post those. And then I do have some IRL art. You can actually maybe see behind me. I have a couple behind me that way, a couple of wood carving pieces by the artist Sean Kemp. So he releases generative art on FX Hash, but he also will do physical versions of those works. And I have, I think, 4 wood pieces by him, and 1 like aluminum, like engraved little card of a piece, which I think is really cool. And it's nice to have something like physical in my home that I can like show my kids and say, oh yeah, this is output from generative art, which I've explained to them. I do want to try to get some things printed up from but I just haven't gone around to that yet. So yeah, I think those are the main ways that I kind of enjoy my collection at this time.
Okay, perfect. What is the news of Danielle King? So what are you up to on maybe the end of the month or December?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, I am going to Art Basel, Miami. Right-click Save, along with Fertile Crypto Art and a bunch of other folks, is having a day called FemGen about women in generative art, which I think is going to be amazing. So stay tuned. We've posted a sort of save the date for that, but we'll be posting more information about that as well. So we've got that coming up, which I'm pretty excited about. Never been to Miami somehow. I don't know how this will be my first time, but it'll be nice to meet people IRL. Yeah, so that's what I've got coming up. I'm also doing a AI Twitter space coming up soon, which I'll post about with some other folks, some other AI folks. So yeah, that's kind of what's on my calendar.
Okay, perfect. Did there is any questions that I didn't ask you and that you wanted me to ask you?
I don't think so. We covered a lot.
All right. Do you remember Possessive? The little video that I played at the beginning?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you the same question. So would you like to see? Sorry, I'm kind of a little bit tired. Would you like to see as the next guest on Robert Spotlight? And which question would you like me to ask him?
Oh goodness. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to give you a couple of names because you never know people if they're available or able to do it or whatever. But there are two artists that I have long loved their work and collected their work. And I'm friends with them on Twitter, but I'd love to just hear more from them about their backgrounds and how they got to where they are, what inspires them. They're both women artists. One of them is named Rose Jackson, and she produces these beautiful textile works, sometimes with GAN and different things. And the other one is Linda Dunia, and she also produces some work with GAN and things like that. But yeah, I'm just a big fan of both of them, and they're both pretty active on Twitter and just seem like wonderful human beings. But I don't know a ton about sort of what got them to where they are in their art practice, and I'd just love to hear more about that from either or both of them.
Okay, perfect. So I will try to make that happen.
Cool.
And last question for you, Danielle. It's Danielle, for you, what is an NFT?
What is an NFT? An NFT is a way of collecting digital artwork for me. I mean, I don't collect PFPs or things like that. And it's a way also of, having the provenance and sort of the history of that work forever more, on the blockchain, which is amazing. I think one of the things coming from the traditional art world where provenance can be so murky and difficult to figure out for things from the past, I think the NFT and the transparency that it provides into all of that is pretty incredible. So I don't know if I really give the best definition of an NFT, but to me, what sort of sets it apart, is that sort of record that will always be there, which is pretty incredible.
Perfect. Thank you, Danielle, for your time. I hope that you enjoy this interview and that you have been able to talk about everything that you were interested.
This was great. Thank you so much for having me, Robert. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.